coming to you live from the Sound System Studios, Dallas, Texas.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I don't care if I never get...
Holy cow!
Baby water! Baby water!
Well, it is that time of the year. March Madness is upon us. Sweet 16 gets underway tonight for NCAA basketball. Are your brackets busted? I know half of mine looks good. Half of it's almost perfect. But the other half, oh, not so fast, my friend, as Mr. Lee Corso would say. And as I would say, got to watch some Sweet 16 tonight, get the Elite 8 this weekend, and we'll have the Final Four set. Hey, we'll got to talk some boxing as well today. How about the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight? Looking to earn maybe $400 million. A little bit more boxing news, too. Would it surprise you if there was a 40-plus-year-old that has boxed 2 times in the last month? Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. Can't wait to get to that subject as well. Oh, also, story of the week. That's kind of all dwindled in there together with a little Tiger Woods as well. We'll get to his story and the latest on my man Tiger Woods. But back to the NCAA tournament. Once again, are your brackets busted? Well, my Midwest region is perfect. Couldn't I tell you? My Midwest region is perfect, baby. I got Kentucky, West Virginia, Notre Dame, and Wichita State. Yes, I picked Wichita State over Kansas. I had this because being up in Chillicothe, Missouri, when I hosted a show up there for a few months, being really close to Kansas, I should say, well, you kind of saw the rivalry that was Wichita State versus Kansas. And I just had a feeling that Wichita State was going to get it done. And then I also have a feeling that Notre Dame, well, they're the 3 seed. They should get it done. So they did. Got that region perfectly predicted. Now let's see if we can finish it off. I have Notre Dame beating Wichita State, Kentucky over West Virginia. Let's go Wildcats all the way. Still undefeated, so their undefeated glorious season is still intact. Let's see if perfection continues. Down to that West region. Almost perfect. I almost had it perfect. I had literally Georgia State, had Ohio State, Arizona. The only one I did pick, I went with my boys Arkansas over UNC, and they had chances here and there. They really had a chance to knock off UNC. Did not come through. So, my whole left side in those 2 regions looking great. Only one wrong on those 2 sides, or that I should say on those 2 regions on that one side. Now let's go to the east side of the bracket, as you want to call it, or the right side, and it's the east and south regions. Now, that is the problem. The East, it's jacked me all up. It's gotten me all out of whack, as I'm sure it's gotten a lot of people. I actually did have 1 and 2 facing off in the Elite 8. Villanova, Virginia. They screwed me. I'm done. I had Dayton, though. I did have Dayton an upset there. That was a nice pick. But Oklahoma did business there, and a pretty good game. I had Dayton taking it all the way, being that region was right there. It was right next door. Virginia. I had a feeling, though, I really did about Michigan State. I had a feeling they do this every few years when you kind of forget about them. Well, forget about them. They were ranked early in the year. They kind of fell apart. Forget about them. No, don't do that to Michigan State. They look good. They could take this region. I think it's going to be Michigan State versus NC State, a 7 versus 8. And it looks like we're going to have a 7 or an 8 going to the Final Four. Although Louisville or Oklahoma, there's a 3 and a 4. They got to get through those guys first. So it could be a 3 and a 4 going at it, or it could be a 7 and 8, or of course a mix of any of the 2. But that region's totally messed me up. I have no one to advance any further than what we have. I have Louisville in the right spot. And that's about it. Now the South region. It's not as bad. I have Duke and Gonzaga advancing all the way to the Elite 8. That's still looking good and could happen. What messed me up there, though? UCLA I did not see UCLA getting as far as they've gotten to the Sweet 16. Although, when you get an upset, and hopefully right below you get a 14 upset, a 3-seed UAB over Iowa State, you got a pretty good chance to get to the Sweet 16, and brother, they did, and I think they have a really good chance. Little West Coast battle, little SoCal battle. Well, not SoCal, but UCLA versus Gonzaga, little West Coast California love battle. UCLA could easily take control of Gonzaga Although, as everyone was saying before the tournament, and I agree, this is Gonzaga's 1 year to really make it to the Final Four. They're packed, they're loaded up front, loaded in the backcourt, got guard play. That's what always comes to kind of win, it seems like they say in the NCAA tournament, that guard play. But I do have Duke advancing to the Final Four. I have them advancing to play Virginia, but that third rematch won't happen. I do have Kentucky and Wisconsin on the other side. And, of course, I did mention, if you heard last week, I have my fantasy brackets. I did have a couple of great upsets predicted. This one, in this main bracket, I did have Georgia State. One of the other brackets, I had UAB. And, of course, in a couple of other brackets, I had Arizona going past Wisconsin to get to the Final Four, as well as Gonzaga getting past Duke. But in the real of all real brackets, it's Kentucky over Duke I have in my legitimate bracket. So we'll see. It's great tournament. How about all those upsets last week? I tried to just tell you about them. Georgia State, we talked about that a little bit. UAB, youngest team in the tournament. More great upsets I did call. Dayton, I predicted that one. I almost was another 11 versus 14 seed because I did predict Albany over Oklahoma State, or Oklahoma, I should say, in my real legitimate bracket. That was a very close game. It almost was another 11 versus 14 seed. Everything else looking rather well far as my seeding goes, but also, yeah, back to the tournament. I mean, great games. Wichita State over Kansas was a great game. Of course, like I said, Bracket-busters having UCLA up to the Sweet 16. Not as many as there were the first couple of days, but still a couple of upsets over the weekend. And the main two were coming from that East region. NC State over Villanova and Michigan State over Virginia. Phenomenal games. Let's get to the women's side, though. UALR Women. You know, I've got to get to the alum. I know a lot of people don't even care about women's basketball, nor where I went to school, but I've got to talk about them, being that they have had a phenomenal year. Set the most records ever, wins by I should say, for their team. The most wins ever for a UALR women's program. 29 wins they ended up with this year. 29-5. They ended up with the same record as ASU, the team that they did actually lost to, but I'll get to that in a minute. How about they won their Joe Foley, the head coach, who coached at Arkansas State, then made his way to UALR, and now is up to 700 career wins. They're 11th seed going into this tournament, facing off against the 6th seed, Texas A&M, and in a great game, led by senior Taylor Galt, who had a season-high 25 points, just went off. She couldn't miss a shot. They beat 6th-seeded Texas A&M. And here's what's crazy. Here's the kicker. They beat them 69-60, but here's the kicker. 5 years to the day, they had just won their first NCAA tournament game as, what? An 11th seed over number 6-seeded, or I should say over 6-seeded Georgia Tech. So how crazy was that for Joe Foley to get a 700th career win, to get UALR's second NCAA tournament win, which came 5 years to the day after their first NCAA tournament win, and albeit as a 11th seed over 6th seed as it was this last Friday. Then Sunday, as they have it in the women's tournament, they can't afford all these different arenas to go book these arenas, and NCAA women's basketball doesn't have the money that the men's do. Men's can go off to Seattle and play. They can play in Charlotte. They can play wherever they want. Dallas. Wherever there isn't a college is my point. Well, women's can't do that. So what they have to do is hold, almost like a regional in baseball, they hold a mini regional for NCAA basketball games. So the 3-seeded ASU Red Devils, well, they got a home game against the UALR Trojans. Not real fair to me, but hey, that's the way it goes sometime. Should the Red Devils, the Sun Devils for ASU, Arizona State. Regardless, Arkansas, UALR, I always want to say Arkansas, Little Rock. UALR was up 16 points in this one. ASU's a 3-seed, 9th ranked overall heading into the tournament. 9th overall, ranked 9th in both polls. Like I said, UALR blew a 16-point lead. I think they had a 16-point lead twice. And unfortunately, ASU ended the game like on around a 26-8 run, somewhere right around there. I couldn't find that stat again, but I know, which you could see anywhere if you read about it. They ended the game, unfortunately, a 13-4 run. Taylor Galt, the senior, the everything for UALR was just gas. You could tell. She unfortunately didn't even take the final shot that would have tied the game for UALR. But in an unfortunate fashion, I think they had like 51 or 2 points left. I forgot how many points they had left with like 5 minutes, and they didn't score. Or I think it may have been 54. I went back and rewound it. There was like almost 5 minutes left in the game, and they didn't score the rest of the game. It was something around those lines. It just, But a great game, great season for UALR. And Joe Foley, got to give it up. And here's the thing where, I love him to death. Jimmy Dykes. How does he get the University of Arkansas and SEC head coaching position over the likes of Joe Foley? He hasn't coached since 1989, has Jimmy Dykes. And he was only assistant at places. I can't remember if he was in a full-time coach. Not that I love Jimmy, like I said. Great Arkansas grad, always represents the state well in our schools. But come on. Joe Foley has 700 career wins, albeit at lower level competition compared to Arkansas. And like I said, Dykes did a great job this year. Got him into NCAA tournament as well. Heads up to my other alumni. Went to school there for a year and got some of my great college years and experience in, and where I had my fun, obviously. And they got to win. Arkansas women did. So what a great postseason it was for Arkansas basketball. Men's almost got to the Sweet 16. Arkansas men's. Arkansas women's gets a game, or they all win a game in the NCAA tournament. So that's my point. It was a great postseason. Would have been a little bit better if one of them would have made it to the Sweet 16. But once again, congrats. Got to give a round of applause there for Joe Foley in the UALR women basketball program, getting 29 wins this year and getting a win in the NCAA tournament, which I'll have to admit, I did see Obama's bracket. One day I was flipping through ESPN. They showed his women's bracket. And who did he have upsetting? And he didn't go over. They just kind of went through the picks, but when I glanced, they kind of zoomed in when he was making a pick to that. I forgot what region they were in, but they kind of zoomed in, and I saw UALR advance. I was like, what? Hold on, what? So I paused it, and sure enough, he had him over Texas A&M, and wow, I was like, well, okay. So I posted that, and hey, don't like all or really much what you've done, Obama, but at least I guess you got that right, huh? Great, though. Great to see March Madness in full swing, baby. It's March Madness, baby. And it's funny, every time I had to mention that, every time my girlfriend Avery hears Dick Vitale, she's like, does that guy know he sounds ridiculous? Oh, but it is that time of the year. Got to enjoy this weekend. Next weekend, we'll talk, like I said, next week next week certainly we'll recap the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games. Hopefully my bracket maybe will continue to say at least perfect almost. It pretty much is still on that left side. Boxing, though. Can you believe this? Floyd Mayweather and the Pacquiao fight generated at the gate. That means at tickets alone from on sale right there going to the event, they're going to make around $74 million in tickets. I'll break that down for you in a minute, how the ticket breakdown goes. $400 million overall is what the total package could surpass. That's tickets, pay-per-view buys. We're not even mentioning merchandise here. That's another thing I didn't even read in this article, that a couple of articles I found. They didn't even talk about the beer, the T-shirt sales. It's going to bring in a lot of money. Probably not close to the Super Bowl. Like I said, obviously because Super Bowl doesn't do pay-per-views, but I'm sure if you added in all the money that's spent for the Super Bowl halftime show, commercials, I guess it would maybe pass over $400 million. I would imagine maybe. I don't. Well, especially if they, because everyone would want to see it if they did a pay-per-view. Imagine 100 million people buying even a $50 or $20 pay-per-view. Yeah. Anyway, so back to this. $400 million is what this. It's going to be by far the biggest sporting event ever, especially as far as martial arts, boxing. You get my point. Pacquiao side gets 40%. Mayweather side gets 60%. They would have never seen a fraction of these numbers if they would have made the fight 5 years ago. Bob Arum, the promoter, the big-time promoter for Pacquiao, said. He said it wouldn't even gotten close to the numbers now. Of course, they're not geniuses for waiting this long. That wasn't their plan. But waiting this long has built up the animosity, has built up the price and the number of not only people that really will probably see it, but now how much they're going to have to pay to see it. Now let's break down those ticket sales. This MGM Gardens only holds 15,000 people, right around there. There's 15,000 tickets that are going to be on sale. That's what's going to equate $74 million. So imagine when you go see a concert and it's sold out, 15,000 pack, maybe even 20,000 pack for whoever it is. It ain't getting close. You get my point. They're packing out one arena for one night and making $75 million right then and there just from ticket sales alone. Wow. Let me break it down for you. Originally, the tickets were going to be around the $1,000, $5,000 price range. So they are looking to maybe double, which would have been what they were talking about, or I should say what the record is. Here's the record. The record is $20 million generated by Mayweather's junior middleweight unification fight against Canelo Alvarez in the same place, the MGM Grand Garden Arena, in September of 2013. $20 million is the most ticket sales ever at a certain event. They're looking to double that, at first around $40 million, with tickets going from $1,000 to $5,000. Due to the enormous demand, it went from $1,500 to $7,500, which had maxed it out to around $50 million. Point being, it's gotten to the point where now the minimum ticket is $1,500. It's still at $1,500. That's the cheapest ticket, $1,500. That's face value. Top ticket, $10,000. $10,000. And here's the ticket breakdown. There's $2,500, $1,500 tickets, $2,500, $2,500 tickets, $4,000, $3,500 tickets. That's the most tickets of any kind. $2,500, $5,000 tickets, $2,500, $7,500 tickets, and there's going to be $1,100 $10,000 tickets. Wow. Now to the pay-per-view breakdown. Locked to shatter the record of 2.4 million buys generated by Mayweather's 2007 fight with Oscar De La Hoya. Many believe it's going to surpass 3 million pay-per-view buys. And at $100 or right around there is what it's going to cost per pay-per-view, potentially $300 million in domestic pay-per-view buys. $300 million just in pay-per-view buys right here in the United States, Canada, Mexico. The foreign market's going to bring in around another $35 million. Once again, there's your breakdown. 35 million domestic, or I should say 35 million foreign pay-per-view, 300 million or around there pay-per-view buys for domestic, around $75 million from ticket sales alone. You add all those numbers up, we're talking $400+ million, and we're not even talking merchandise yet. All the beer, all of the booze, or obviously the beer and booze is what I mean different when alcohol is what I mean by booze. So mixed drinks, margaritas, hot dogs, fries, t-shirts, merchandise, the works. This fight's going to pull in probably $500 million when it comes down to the end of it. Close to, at least if you would factor in what Vegas is going to make of this. Because guess what? I'm going out there. I said this. I'm going to the fight. Don't know if I'm actually going to get a ticket now. I thought I was going to get some kind of promotions ticket, some kind of way to get in. I don't care how I could get in. And here's why I may not even be out there. That I'll be out there Saturday, but I may go ahead and just fly back Saturday, because here's how much price of the hotels inflate. Friday night, say a normal hotel costs, and here's the cheaper end. Say the Stratosphere, or a couple of the normal on the Strip, but the lower end ones, the New Yorks. I mean, they're still lower end. The Flamingos, the ones that are just kind of been there for a little while. I'm not talking Bellagio or MGM, especially MGM on site. Just like I said, add a look. Stratosphere, just for one fun one I did, not on the higher end, way on the lower end, but on the Strip. $125 it normally costs Friday and Saturday night. Well, Friday night before the fight and Saturday night of the fight, we're talking $475 for Friday and about $550 for Saturday, and that's on the lower end. So I might say Friday night, because that isn't that bad. When you say the whole week, it inflates it a little bit. But if you stayed till that Saturday, that's an extra night that costs $550 at the Stratosphere. I'm not saying at the Stratosphere either. I'm saying it most likely SLS, where my brother works, looking at New York, because it's kind of still in the lower end, but it's right down there in the conjuncture where the real main hub of things is. SLS and Stratosphere on the north end of the Strip. Everything else is right down there, kind of conjunctured together. And they're probably only about a half a mile separate, but they're slowly kind of literally the strip's expanding to where it'll all be one strip one day. I mean, really, to where the SLS used to be the Sahara, where Dean Martin, all the greats went. All the greats went. That was really back in the day, probably a mile north of really where the main hub is. But now so much is being built up. There's the wind out there, so on and so forth. So anyway, you talk about all those hotels being packed at $550 on Saturday night at the Stratosphere, which is at the north end of the Strip, and at the cheaper end of the hotels on the Strip. I can't imagine. I didn't even look it up what it'd be at the Bellagio, or at the Mirage, or at the Monte Carlo, the Venetian. Well, I bet it's $1,000 at least for a normal room. So we're talking, I guarantee you, if you added in what Las Vegas is in, obviously the booze, the gambling, this wasn't even the betting. This wasn't even talking about the betting that's going to be taking place out there. All the millions and millions of dollars that are going to be bet on this fight. We might, in the end, if you talk about how many people bet on this fight, just to bet alone, of course not profiting back, but just who bet on the fight, how much money they bring in, you get more to my point. It's going to be over $500 million. especially if you added in, like I said, the Las Vegas and the surrounding area and how much the restaurants, the hotels, resorts. Big time money. And kind of get in now to the story of the weeks. Let's really break it down. And how about literally a guy that's been fighting for forever, one of the all-time pound-for-pound greats back in the day, and was probably the best in boxing for about 10 years. Well, he is on deck. On deck. And I'll start using that more. Haven't been using it enough, unfortunately. Start using my little catchphrase, on deck. On deck. Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. And I'll go over his fight track here in just a minute, but yeah, he's going to fight twice in a month's worth of time. On March 6th, kind of had a little spit in there. On March 6th, in Concord, North Carolina, he fought club fighter Willie Williams. Knocked him out in the second round. Wasn't even a fight. He's been fighting at these small venues, just getting extra money. I'm sure I don't know what he would make from this. Maybe $50,000, maybe $100,000. But hey, if he knows he's fighting someone that he knows he can take out for that much money and is going to knock him out, he's not going to hardly get hurt. I mean, might as well take the money. Well, now he's fighting Paul Vasquez back at his hometown Pensacola in the Pensacola Bay Center. Another 10-round fight. Yes, this coming Tuesday. Yeah, this coming Tuesday. If you want to see Roy Jones Jr. fight, I think it's the last day, March 31st, last day of March, I should say. You can go see Roy Jones Jr. for the second time in a month he's fighting. And let's take a look at his fight track. I can't even pronounce half the guys' names that he's faced. The last one he faced of any kind, and actually was in an arena of any sort, over 10,000, 5,000 people, because these places he's been fighting, let me go through them real quick. The last guy, before Willie Williams, he fought in 2004, back in September. Hani Atio, something around those lines, he fought in Russia. Courtney Fry fought that guy in Latvia. Zainadine Banmakalov fought him in Russia. These are all 2014, 13, back in 2012 now. Poel Glazski fought him in Poland. Well, finally, his last fight, literally, this fight that he just had in North Carolina a few weeks ago, that was his first fight back in the United States since 2011, over 4.5 years, almost 5 years. It was in December of 2011. So about 4.5 years was his last fight he had on United States ground. That was against Max Alexander, if you've heard of him. And, of course, these have all been wins. He's been winning against these guys. Some of them unanimous decisions. They've gone the whole fight. Well, that was at the Civic Center in Atlanta. I think that one was one of the biggest ones. One of the biggest ones held close to around 10,000. May have been one of the ones overseas in Russia. Well, before that, he lost to Denis Lebedev in Moscow. And then finally, the name I finally heard of in his last big fight in a big arena, and all the ones before this were in big arenas. Well, he lost to Bernard Hopkins at Mandalay Bay, another big-time resort that's going to cost $1,000 if you want to go stay there for the next big fight. Another one of those ones I didn't mention. But anyway, fought him at Mandalay Bay and lost to Bernard Hopkins. Lost to Danny Green before that in Wales at a pretty big-sized arena. Jeff Lacey before that, and then here's a couple other small ones. Jeff Lacey at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. Well, he beat him. He beat Omar Shika at the Civic Center in Pensacola. And his last big major fight, really before, but he had Bernard Hopkins and Danny Green that I just mentioned. Well, right before, like I said, that it was Lacey and this Omar guy that he had beaten. And then right before that, in 2008, was Madison Square Garden against Joe Calzaghe. I'm sure if you know boxing, Joe Calzaghe was great. I think he may have even retired undefeated, one of the great boxers of the 2000s. And all the fights before that was all the way back in 2008. So all the fights before that, he was fighting big names in Madison Square Garden or Mandalay Bays or MGMs, big arenas. Well, after Joe, he did lose to Joe, and he lost a few before that. That was his fifth loss. And he lost like 4 out of his last, probably, because his one and only loss was a low blow. He had like a 97. I mean, he was beating the guy. Rematched with that guy. Literally beat him, TKO'd him in the first round. Or knocked him out in the first round. It was TKO or KO. Knocked him out in the first round because he was like, oh, really? I lost his belts to this guy, and so it was a mandatory rematch, I'm sure. I forgot the guy's name in 97 because he lost to a low blow when the guy was pretty much going down. But he was putting him out of his misery. He was like, oh, okay, well, let's rematch. Watch what happens. And, yeah, knocks him out first round. Well, keeps winning until he loses 4 out of 5 around the I think it was 2004 to 2008. Loses 4 out of somewhere around there, 4 out of 6, 4 to 7 matches, boxing matches. Then he wins after he loses to Joe. Wins a couple in a row against lower level. Jeff Lacey being somewhat a mediocre level, and then certainly faces people of higher level. Danny Green, Bernard Hopkins, loses, and is slowly but surely trying to face lower competition again. Has been winning since then. But Bernard Hopkins, that's another name to mention. How long are these guys going to go and fight for? I mean, luckily Bernard has never taken serious shots, not a serious Roy Jones Jr. There's a couple of Roy Jones Jr. fights you can look up right now where he just took a couple of beatings. Like, oh, his brain just received damage. There's no doubting that. But just guys like him still fighting, Bernard Hopkins, phenomenal. Triple-double machine, Russell Westbrook, got his 10th one taken away, unfortunately, just last week. Had 10. Well, he took a rebound away the next night, and now he's still back to 9. But still 9 triple-doubles on the season for my man, Triple-double Westbrook. So I'm going to start calling him Triple-double Westbrook. Especially with the ran out. He's got to do everything. He's got to score. He's got to assist. He gets in there at that little 6'1", 6'2" frame, whatever he is, and rebounds somehow. Phenomenal. I mean, him and Derrick Rose or something. And, of course, and really, Westbrook has injuries too, but Derrick Rose, he just can't. He's had the opposite injuries. It's like Westbrook's had the minor ones to where Derrick Rose has had the significant injuries that is just, and especially to your knees. In any sport, you're going to need your knees and legs, but still, triple-double Westbrook. Hopefully he gets 10 triple-doubles on the year. It'd be the first time anyone has had double-digit triple-doubles since the 89 season when Michael Jordan had 15. The last time anyone's had that many was in 89 when Michael Jordan had 15. Magic Johnson had 17 the year before that. And then you can go down the list of how many people have had a lot of people, well, not a lot, but a few have had triple-doubles up more than 15 in a year. I think the record is 41 by Oscar Robertson. Yeah, the big O. Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double one year, if you don't remember. He averaged a triple-double. Phenomenal. And he missed, I forgot how many games that year it was. 70. Point being, he played 78 or 79 games and had 41 triple-doubles. The point of the story is he had a triple-double in more than every other game. And half the games he played in, more than half the games he played in, he had a triple-double. And crazy to think he didn't even set the record for most triple-doubles in a row. That was set by Wilt Chamberlain, who had 31 triple-doubles, and that was the most he ever had. And he set the record at 9 straight. Well, if you remember a couple of shows back in my podcast 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was talking about Russell Westbrook when he had 4 straight, and I was saying that was the most ever since Michael Jordan had 7 straight. Well, like I said, Michael Jordan had 15 in that 89 season, the most he ever had in a year. And in that season, he had the second most triple-doubles of all time consecutively with 7 straight triple-doubles. So, triple-double Westbrook going out of control, certainly putting his name in the Hall of Fame. Well, a little too fast for that. Not so fast, my friend. Certainly putting his name, though, in the Player of the Year, the MVP award. I don't know if I'd say he deserves it now, but I would certainly say, because you don't know what, like, say, by point being, if the Thunder didn't have Russell Westbrook, they wouldn't even be in the playoff hunt at all, even though they're right there teetered, but they wouldn't even be in it. But if you took Stephen Curry off of the Warriors, I think it would be a big impact, but I don't think it would be near as much. And, of course, the Thunder don't have Kevin Durant, so that's another reason why his play has been stepping up. Another reason why his numbers obviously are so big, because he's filling in for another person. So, but you still have to put him up in that conversation. And I think it's certainly and most definitely coming down to those two. Stephen Curry, triple-double Westbrook, who are they going to give it to? And that's a lot of, what have you done for me lately? A lot of people remember what you've done lately over kind of how you started the season, especially being an 82-game season that stretches over 6, 7, 8 months. I think you'll get more votes than maybe a lot of people would imagine, and it's going to be certainly a close race for that MVP. The last story, though, I have to certainly get to Tiger Woods. I don't know if any of you really saw, not that much has come out, but just his odds for maybe playing in the Masters, and then the fact that he didn't say it himself, but Davis Love III came out and said that Tiger Woods is expecting to make the 2016 Ryder Cup team. And of course, that's still a year and a half off. Plenty of time for anyone, not even Tiger Woods, say anyone, even me, if I supposedly was that good and wanted to go join you get what I'm saying. There's enough time to get enough points to make your way onto the team, especially if not to get a captain's vote if you've played that well over the next year and a half. So that came out a couple of days ago that I guess he's told Davis Love III that he's expecting to make the 2016 Ryder Cup team, and that's all he's been doing, playing at his home course in Florida where he lives now. That's just right where he lives off of, playing every day. Nota Begay said at the beginning, and here's another news that came out, Nota Begay at the beginning of the month said that the odds of Tiger Woods playing in the Masters is like 1 in 10, so 10%. Well, now after the last 2 or 3 weeks, spending a lot of time with him, a lot of great conversations, he said, working on his shipping, he thinks it's a 50-50 chance that we're going to see Tiger Woods in the Masters, which would be his 20th Masters for Tiger. Don't know if he'll play in it or not. I know he wants to get out there, and he would love for that to be his first tournament, being that he loves that course more than almost any course out there. He's played it more than almost any other course out there, especially professionally as the PGA Tour event. But he knows that also, like this, his odds are 50-1. Back to the day where his odds used to may have been 3-1, 2-1, that he was going to win whatever tournament his name was placed in to enter. Well, now it's the 50-1 odds. Tiger Woods is now 96 or so in the world. He's 96 in the world. Keeps dropping. It was like he got to 50 and he dropped out of the top 50. Now, because he's not playing, now he's almost out of the top 100. He's going to have to do what he did a few years ago and work his way back from like the whatever he was, 120, 130, 140, whatever he literally fell to, and worked his way back up to number 1 in the world. So don't think he can't do it again. He won 5 tournaments in 2013. He's been so close to winning a major. And I think what he's doing is what he needs to do. And unfortunately, I know he has a swing coach, but hopefully it's just to get back to basics, supposedly, and that's what the deal is. And that would be my advice. We'll get to advice in a minute, but yeah, 50-1 odds. Roy, the highest odds maker, 6-1 to win, and that would be his first ever green jacket. He's never even won one yet, but he's still the odds to win, just like Tiger would be. Even if Tiger hadn't won that on that course, he would still, well, back in his heyday, being number 1 in the world, would be by far the favorite to win. And now back to these comments and advice. That was the other thing that I guess Yahoo Sports or someone finally delved through the other day on his website. Like 1,700 comments had been left lately, or however many. I figured there'd be more than that. And most of them giving advice to Tiger. Tiger, stop trying to be perfect. Guy kind of goes on about that. Next one. Your confidence, coupled with your huge successes, yes, has impacted on your general well-being. And he goes on, just goofiness. And this next guy done a career and has a career with helping people with managing businesses or this, that, and the other. But he said, I can help you with your mental game. He said he's been successful doing this for years and years and years for other industries and businesses, not only just people. And then a lady, here's hers. I just had a total knee replacement, and I had to start from square one. They tell me it will come around like fine wine, so I started eating grapes to start the progression. It's working. So Tiger, eat some grapes during your next round. It might be mental, but it's working for me, and that's true. I see a lot of that. He thinks way too much, way more than he used to. And that I'll get to this final comment, or well, one of the ones, and it's really this one. Tiger, take the change out of your right pocket, put it in your left pocket. Tie left shoe in a double knot, turn your hat around and put your tea in your left ear. It says, yeah, I know you look like a fool, whatever. You get my point. He says, used to, and he says, yeah, no, I'm just a hacker compared to you, but you think way too much compared to used to. Used to, you'd get up there and, yeah, you knew what you needed to do, and you'd take your time and you'd look at whatever shot was at hand, but you had the confidence, and that's, I think, the main thing. I don't think he has the confidence. Used to, he'd walk up there, okay, this is what I need to do. I know I need to do this. Okay, I'm going to do it. And he'd do it 9 times out of 10, if not 9.9 times out of 10. Well, now he doesn't have that confidence in his head. Oh, I know I can make the shot. Or, oh, this shot, yeah, I got this. And that's why I think he's needed the time off, a good amount of time off, like he took a few years ago, that regained his position back to number 1. And that's what I'm hoping he's doing now. Not only getting his body prepared, obviously, if it get it back to 100%, so it can take the swing, can take the 18 holes after 4 days, and you need to start playing once you get there. Once you get your body not only mentally ready for the tournaments at hand, but you also get your mind stable and, hey, okay, I can make this shot. Oh, yeah, I'm making this shot consistently, right? Yeah, it's at practice, but then you need to start entering these tournaments because the tournament's a totally different thing than a practice round. This I can tell you. And I can totally tell you that a mental game is what golf is all about. All the way back in my senior year of golf, I was in a love triangle. Oh, like, which girl is it? I couldn't pick between the younger sophomore and the senior at hand. I was a senior. And here I am at the golf team, greatest at golf I've ever been, and I'm going to be the top 5 every week most likely, always going out to play each tournament, first tournament of the year I go to. And then by the end of the year, I can't even play. I can't get my head on straight. I can't think straight. It's all because of me. I'm 18 at the time. So imagine Tiger, even a grown man, having to deal with certain problems in his life, who knows way more than an 18-year-old knows, and still having the difficulty that he's having. So he needs to get, and like this even in 2010, you entered a very challenging astrological period indicating very serious challenges. The beginning of this period corresponds to the start of your, and this guy just went on and on and on. And then this is what it just needs to get back to. If he can ever get back to this, or just a form of this. Where are you, Mr. Woods? This is what one of the next guys writes. Where are the Sundays when you walked onto the course and commanded respect and inflicted fear in the souls of everyone who dared tee up with you? Where are the laser-focused eyes that never deviated from the task at hand? Of course, he went on. It just spoke of how Tiger ruled. And that's what he needs to get back to. So, Tiger, if any advice there is, I think you know it by now. Take as much time as you need off. Not only get your body back to physically 100% or close to 100% as it can, but get your mind back to 100%. You used to have fun. Yeah, I know there were serious times, but you would smile out there. You were having fun, man. And, of course, everything, and I know golf is way, way more fun when you're shooting under par and collecting birdie after birdie and an eagle there. And, okay, a bogey here, but you back it up with a birdie on the next hole. I know that. I understand. But you're only going to get back there if you loosen up a little. Understand this is only a game. And know that you can do it. If anyone can do it, it's you. You've done it before. Look at other people in their past. Don't get caught up, oh, I'm getting too old, the clock's winding. Don't think about too much at once. It's one thing at a time. That's one thing I've learned from any great that I've watched before. It's one thing, then another. You can't put too much in front of you because you won't be able to break through all those barriers. It's one barrier at a time. Bust that barrier down, then the next barrier. You got plenty of time. Many of golfers have done great in their early 40s, your late 30s, last year or two left. 40s are coming up. Plenty of time to win 4 majors. Even tying Jack. Having a run this late in your career after everything you've been through and even winning 4 and tying him, you would be you and Jack as the greatest of all time. Not even a question. And by far, you would have the biggest, strongest stretch of anyone. I would say the most dominant stretch that anyone in any sport has ever had. That you had from, however, if you want to call it a 5-year run or whatever you want to call it, or even a 10-year run from 97 to 07 or 08. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the most dominant runs of all time. I can't say much more than that for you, Tiger. It's all up to you, and I know everyone for the most part wants the old Tiger back. So, let's do it, because you got to, and that is the show for this week. NCAA March Madness, the Mad Mess continues. It continues through this weekend. Next weekend is the Final Four. We'll have a show next week to break it down and talk about the Sweet 16 and then the Elite 8 that are going to happen over the next few days. Any other news that comes up, I'll let you know about Tiger if he decides if he's going to play in the Masters or not, because guess what? We'll not only preview the Final Four next weekend in the championship game, but one of the greatest weeks of the year luckily happens that next week. You get the championship game, where you get the Final Four in the championship game that weekend, and the championship game on Monday. Then guess what happens that Thursday? The Masters. So I will certainly let you know what Tiger's situation is and where he stands heading into that tournament. Also, any other news, I'll keep you updated. If you need to know anything, you want to find out something, get to me. I'll let you know. I write back all my fans. Anything I get, I certainly get back to you. Follow me on Twitter. You follow me. I'll follow you back. That seems to be the new trend. It's at Joshua A. Smith 7. That's Joshua A. Smith 7. You can follow me there on Twitter. Anything else, hit me up. JoshSmithSports.com. That's the podcast. It's on deck. Until then, next week, you're on deck.